What's wrong with
I
you?
got it already. You don't have to keep telling me that. I do. It's you the
That's how
problem.
you missed it. Hey everybody, this is Willem, and welcome to another episode of the Blissology podcast. Have you ever argued with your spouse, sometimes for no reason? In today's podcast, Cece and I, we're going to talk about some of the things we do and how it's helped our relationship and how it may help others. So stay tuned.
I'm not smiling because it's, Alrighty, hey Blissful friends, welcome back to another episode of the Blissology podcast. I am your host, Cece, and I'm joined by this man who just argued with me earlier, got me all upset. I'm like feeling some type of way right now. So go ahead, sir, introduce yourself.
If you listen to instructions, you get it. By the way, this is Will, and welcome to another episode of the Blissology podcast. We're glad to have you. If this is your first time with us, remember to subscribe and hit on the notification bell so you can be notified when we put these videos out. And in this podcast, we talk about
Love, life, family, relationships. You getting on my nerves sometimes, and me getting on his nerves sometimes. So yes.
sometimes the simplest thing can get on her nerve.
Under your nerve.
I like to be heard. Anyway, so let's get into your blissful moment.
moment. Yeah. So I don't even know because like I said, we just argued way before starting this podcast. Well, the first one that I have is, our daughters, over the weekend, you worked on their bunk bed, which was really great. They love it.
And that almost caused an argument because I'm already having to go and modify the bunk bed because someone doesn't like it. So after we're done here, I'm going to have to pull it apart and add a piece, which, to be honest with you, I don't think it's necessary. But you know what? We had our disagreement.
You mean like for the sake of argument?
Well, for my daughter's safety, because earlier she did a demonstration on how she could roll off of
The bed?
the bed. So I said, you know what? I disagree, but I could see the need for it.
Okay. I'm just saying. So yeah, I'm happy they have their bed. I'm happy they happy. And we thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
It took a whole weekend.
It took a
Now
whole
it's gonna
weekend.
take another night for me to wrap this up. Bed is all done. Good to go. Mattress on. Now I'm gonna have to pull it apart to add a piece that she wants.
I thought you just agreed that she needs it.
Oh, I agree. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be doing the work.
Okay. Anyway, so my other blissful moment is that I have my coffee, guys. Listen, I had a really bad day today. I don't know for those of you who drink coffee like me, when you don't have it, and mind you, we ran out. I didn't realize that we didn't have any more K-cups in the cabinet, and I was cranky all day. The kids took pictures of me how I was, like the look on my face. Mommy just sleepy throughout the whole day. I had no energy. My husband called me and FaceTimed me earlier, and he was like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm just so tired and so sleepy, and there's no coffee. That's what's wrong with me." So it was painful, and I'm like, I don't care. Late at night, I'm just gonna have this, and I need it. I need it.
And I'm hoping some of you are maybe like me.
No one
I
is
don't
like
go
you.
crazy over coffee. So this whole not feeling well thing, it seems like BS to me.
Well,
but I understand.
I don't know what it is. I have to have it in the morning.
I don't see it, but I understand. And part of the reason, it's not just her. I know many people who are big on drinking coffee. If
My
they don't
parents
get their coffee,
are. My parents
they
are.
don't
My
feel
brother
normal.
is.
I just don't see coffee is just a drink. Now, I get coffee, I'm good. I don't get coffee,
You good?
I'm just as good. Like this morning, typically on a Wednesday, I get a cup of coffee. When I realized there was no coffee, I was fine. And I had no intentions of picking up some K-cups on my way home.
Well, I'm glad you did because I
However,
need it.
I
However,
realized
you
how
know-
she was. And if I wanted to come to a house where I can function, I
Do this
needed to bring
podcast.
home some coffee.
Yes.
Actually, that's the first thing I did after I got home is
you.
get the K-cup, stick it in the Keurig, and hit the button. And she was like right there putting whatever else she put on there so she can get ready.
Actually, my daughter did. They
Oh,
put
she
the
did.
creamer and they brought it
Well,
to
they
me.
felt the pain as well.
So, anyways, that's my moment. And I think
Hey, listen, if you guys want to hear this crazy moments, remember to subscribe. She always has
Yes.
some craziness going
Listen,
on.
you should subscribe to our channel. I don't know if you're listening to us in Apple Podcasts, but you should subscribe and you see my face. The look on me right now, the look on my face right now is like she still kind of looks sleepy, but I have my coffee here that's gonna wake me up. Okay. So right now, let's get into the topic of the day, which my husband mentioned to you guys in the beginning of the podcast. What is it again, baby?
You ever argue with your spouse, your partner? Is arguing healthy for your relationship?
We argue a lot of times. We agree and disagreed on things, right? Like
Well,
we had
yes.
one earlier, just right before we started the podcast.
Yes, the
we
mic
had
is supposed to
one.
be a certain way,
Listen,
and we're supposed to start a certain way, and someone wasn't paying attention. So I'm like, what the? You weren't paying attention.
let's just leave it there.
You weren't paying attention. Because if she
Okay.
was paying attention, she would have heard what I said, and she would have done what I expected.
I was paying attention. Maybe you said it wrong.
But we argue. I mean, it happens sometimes over the silliest thing.
Yes. And I think it's just something that's just straight facts that every relationship had its fear of argument. Like if you don't argue with your partner, there's something wrong. Is it healthy or is it unhealthy? I truly think it's healthy to argue every now and then because I don't ever see you agree with me on everything that I
Why
said.
should I ever agree with you on everything you say?
And I don't think I see it the other way too.
You should agree with me more. But yeah, you shouldn't. I believe if you're in a relationship and you always agree with your partner, you're lying to your partner. There will be things that they want to do or they say or whatever it may be that you would not want to do or you would not agree with. And if you go and say yes, you just lied to them and to yourself. And eventually it's going to come out. So arguing, yes, it may not be the most comfortable conversation to have. Yes, sometimes emotions can get in the way. People can get crazy upset. I remember there was one New Year's Eve. We had just came from church. Someone got upset with me over, I don't recall what, but I remember she was upset for 3 days maybe.
What? Who was that? Me?
I don't recall who, but
Oh. Well, 3 days.
that was earlier in our relationship. Her upsetness always go the next day. Although we would try not to, but it always takes more than one day. It's like she has to sleep over it before she gets over it.
That's true.
Now you're looking at someone who's very like.
But it hasn't happened lately, though.
No, you've grown. You've grown. I must say, you have grown.
Okay.
But it's good to argue because I think as long as you argue to whatever the issue is and you don't turn it into some kind of personal attack, some kind of way to hurt your partner.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I'm going to tell. Nah, I know some people who does. They'll find the meanest thing to tell you.
Yeah.
That's not right. Because if you love someone, there are things you would not tell them.
Yeah, especially if they're trying to hurt your self-esteem and there's certain words they throw at you that that's gonna hurt you.
So arguments like this, first, if you can find it in yourself to want to say things to hurt your
I can
partner.
see some of our people do that.
Oh yeah, some of our people have done that. I'm talking about they will curse you out, curse your mom, all your family out. That's part of the argument. I mean, sometimes it goes beyond what you're arguing about. It becomes a personal attack, a personal fight.
Right.
And then afterwards they realize, okay, what were you arguing about again? I've said all these things.
Right. That's so
arguments
true.
like this, I mean, in an argument, there's always a subject, something that you disagreed on, and keep it on that. Yes, it may get heated and someone may get upset.
And they start bringing up past stuff.
Yes, someone may get upset. But if it's a point that you're supporting, whatever that point may be, try to support it. Because that's the point of the argument. You'd like to make sure that your opinion is heard and you're going to support whatever facts that you have or facts that you made up.
Yes.
To support your opinion.
Yes.
But it can get heated. And this is where I think it's healthy for, because a lot of our personalities comes out of the way we argue. Our intelligence as well. Because if you support a case, you need to be able to bring things to show that I know what I'm talking about. I know why I'm
just
right.
like these lawyers.
Well, Yeah. But it gives you that ability to communicate what's in your mind.
Right.
And that
Right.
helps you. I mean, whether it's frustration, whether it's anger, whether it's grief,
Mm-hmm.
you get to tell your partner what's going on. And if they get to listen, then they can tell what's going on with them. But in the midst of this argument, you're sharing.
Right.
You're sharing your views, you're sharing your thoughts, you're sharing who you are. And in a sense, we learn more about each other.
Yes, and sometimes you may be with someone that don't like to share their feelings.
So you force them to argue
And
just so you can get it.
right. I'm like, I know that something's wrong with you, but I gotta get it out of you. There's a lot of time, especially for when it comes to men. They just don't want to share their feelings. They don't want to talk about it.
Sometimes women can't handle our feelings or can't handle what we have to say, because there may be things that we say, women may take it personal. Sometimes it's not. Just how we feel.
Yeah, but it's good to talk about it.
Yes, it's good too, but sometimes you're like, man, I don't have the energy for this.
We had the energy. We want to talk.
Sometimes.
Yes, I think, sometimes, especially when it comes to the men, they just want to like move on and be done. Unless if we have a dramatic husband or a dramatic boyfriend that just want to, argue. Because some people, they just love arguing. They just love fighting. They just love, it's just in their nature to
if
do
a
that.
passion of yours is arguing, then that habit will not benefit you.
And sometimes
because your partner will get exhausted of you.
Right. True. And sometimes I feel like they just want to prove a point. I got to prove something that I know more than you do, or I know better than you do. And that gets into an argument. It gets heated. And when it's hot, like there's a lot of things that come out. There's a lot of things that you were not expecting your partner to say. You're like, whoa. And sometimes it's hard for you to like, wow, I didn't know you were feeling that way.
And that's where the learning comes.
Yes. And I think argument is healthy too, because in a way it helps you communicate your frustrations, right? And it allows your partner to see who your true self, who you are, especially if you're dating someone too.
If I was thinking about marrying you and I realized that
right.
you got some deep issues.
And sometimes, babe, I feel like something so simple that can be like done in 5 or 10 minutes of argument where there could be the partner just like take it over the top, where it lasted like an hour or two, where it just, you're like, really? It's so minor. We could have just like, talk about this and come into a grown up, right?
Yeah, some kind of agreement. And not everything is worth arguing about. Like, for instance, take the coffee issue we're talking about. Why do I need to argue with you? I just get some coffee and we're good. Yes. I feel like you don't have to feel all that down because you didn't get coffee. But what good is it going to do me if I'm like, man, they pick yourself up. You don't need coffee and forget it. You can get your own coffee. Right? What good does it do me? It's on my way. I grab them. I'm good to go.
Yes.
And this is where not everything has to lead to an argument.
Right.
Because if you're in a relationship and what you're looking for is a reason to argue, you have issues.
Yes,
yeah, you have issues. Do. If everything happens, you're looking for, what can I find from this to create an argument? Because I want to show that.
True.
I got it.
True. And sometimes it could be where your partner have a strong opinion about certain things. And because they disagree a lot with you, they could never see it your way. It's like you throw this, well, why is it? It's like the argue starts like at the moment that you say something, they start arguing.
You're already ready to argue. Some people are like this, it's like, okay, today I need to have X amount of argument and whatever comes,
I don't think anybody's like that, baby. Come on. There's no one like that out there.
I'm sure there is. but one thing that's important to understand is that it's healthy to have arguments.
Yes.
And there's sometimes we think that a healthy relationship is one that has zero conflict.
Yes.
That's not a right thought.
Right.
It's good to argue
and
and not over like any little things.
Right.
But over things that are important, because there will be things that you have to argue. Like, for instance, if someone having an argument over, should I send the kids back to school, despite the fact that COVID is still out there, or should we keep the kids home? That's a subject we need to not just have an argument, but we need to sit and thought. Now, if that turned into an argument, why you think it's important for the kids to go to school despite the fact there's COVID,
Right.
or why the other one thinks that the kids should stay home, you can argue about it. At the end, hopefully you get to a resolution.
Yeah.
But there are subjects that are important, or maybe there's some financial things on the table that
Right.
you need to have a discussion about it, and it turns into an argument. But whichever one of you are supporting your points, yes, so important. But
I was thinking of maybe because our people sometimes can be really hard when it comes to arguing. Maybe like when the husband's coming home from work and there's no food on the table and they start arguing, why isn't there food on the table? Why haven't me cooking? Like, because our people, they argue about that. They love their food. They love their rice and beans and chicken. Like if they come home, I mean, I could literally think about a movie that we watched which was like one of those like really, really bad person to say. Bad to say, because the guy came home and there was no food on the table, and the lady was
hungry,
and the lady was just chilling watching a movie, and he was
That's
like,
not
okay,
good.
why isn't there food on the table? Like, why must you come at her like this? First of all, why not? Maybe she wasn't feeling right. Maybe she wasn't feeling well. Maybe she you know, you don't have to expect food on the table every single day. And
At
that
least
was
some food in the fridge.
food in the fridge, yes. But
She didn't have anything anywhere.
But he wasn't like that. He was the type of person that wants food, fresh food on the stove every single
and
day.
she said, "Today I'm not going to make fresh."
Sometimes you have to put us, who has time?
But you
to
could
be
at least put
cooking
some
every day?
leftover in the fridge.
There was leftover because he had all of it the day before.
She was trying to get back at him for whatever he had done.
Listen.
Now that's not right. A man get home, yes, hey, listen, it's okay to not have food on the stove. I think it's hard cooking. However, there should be some food somewhere in there. If there isn't, let me know so I can pick something on my way home. Am I gonna sleep?
But the thing is, but why start the argument? Why isn't there food on the table?
He's hungry.
Where's the food? You could pick up something. How about you have a conversation with your wife on your way home? Says, "Hey, babe, are there any food in the house?"
When you're hungry, it's difficult to have a conversation.
Because your mind is like thinking about food.
Listen, and that's me saying that sometimes there's reason to argue.
But I just don't get it. Like the
for
argument
instance,
about the food.
The wife needed to make a point. And obviously, I'm sure that argument gave her an opportunity to really speak her mind as to this is why I did not put food on the table.
Yes.
So that gave her a chance to speak her mind and explain her thoughts and her reasoning behind it. And obviously, he was blowing off on why there was no food on the table.
Like
That's a legitimate reason. I mean, yes, she probably got tired of cooking every day. That's understandable. Cooking is difficult.
yes, especially when you married.
But he worked all day with no lunch.
Listen, you get lucky you married someone who doesn't want you to get on the stove every day. Okay. Like especially when you married like someone from the Caribbean, like they love their food. They love fresh food. Like they come home and there's no food on the table, they start arguing with you. And sometimes you working and they both working and they come home and it's like you got home before them and they're like, okay, not that it ever happened to us, because I know me as a wife, I'm always finding ways to make sure that when my husband get home from work, there's something, it may not be like rice and beans and chicken. It is something fresh. It could be a salad with some chicken, or some plantain and some oxtail or...
I guess she gets creative with stuff.
I do.
And I'm built to eat anything. But
yeah.
Talking about food, I think every couple should have some kind of plan. If I'm not cooking every day, I make it known from the get-go. Don't expect that I'm going to get on the stove right off the bat. Or if you find that you find yourself in an argument over that, make your expectation clear. I will not cook every day.
Yeah.
If you have a problem with that, do something.
Listen, some arguments sometimes can get so heated to the point where there could be like physical things
now
happen.
if it gets to
physical,
that point,
yeah.
there's a few things that any couple that gets to the point where they find out their arguments are getting physical. Someone has a problem, right? Either a temper problem
Yes.
or an understanding problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you get physical with anyone, either the lady gets physical with the man or the man gets physical with the lady, someone's got a problem.
Yeah.
They probably can't express themselves and they feel like they're being overpowered by the other person. And they feel the only way they can hold their ground, get their ground back or get their strength back is to hurt the person. That's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to talk, you speak. If your point is too weak, you can't support it, then the other person is right.
Right. Right.
If you want to be right, then be more knowledgeable about what you want as to why you want it and make your point clear. Now, if you're with someone who doesn't understand, then it's kind of another problem.
Yeah.
You know?
And sometimes you could be with someone that don't understand anything that you said.
If you're with someone that can't reason, I feel bad for you.
Yeah.
Maybe you shouldn't have married her. You shouldn't have gotten in
And
a
I don't
relationship with
like-
this person.
And I just don't like when you marry someone. It's like, yes, baby, yes, baby, yes, baby. I'm
No.
pleasing my husband. I'm pleasing my wife. I don't like this. We all have our own mouth to say something. Like, you have a brain to think, right? You gotta speak up. Like, it's not all happy wife, happy life, right? Happy wife, happy life.
No.
But at the same time, if I am your wife, we married for a reason, I should be able to voice my own opinion on things. And vice versa, you the husband, you should be able to speak, not be afraid of the wife, not being afraid of the husband, because at the end of the day, why should I be afraid of you? Unless if you are very abusive.
Well, I'm bigger than you are. Now, if you're in an abusive relationship, then you probably don't need to be in it.
Then there could be something there too, babe. Listen, you could be in a relationship where the partner threatened you. If you leave, this is going to happen.
I call the police.
There could be where there's children involved,
Well,
and
yes.
he might say you're not gonna see your kids anymore, or you're not gonna get money from me. All that happens when you are in an abusive relationship. But you have to understand, when you're with someone, you should be able to say what's on your damn mind. Stop being like,
so it's important
yes,
to pay attention to
honey,
the
yes, honey.
early signs.
yes, babe, and don't just go with what the wife said all the time. You have your own mouth to speak. Like, to me, that's a softie. You know, I don't want to marry
you need
someone.
to be able to tell your wife, hey, listen, this is not going to fly in this house.
I'm okay with
and
that.
the wife needs to be able to say, hey, husband, this is not going to fly in this house.
And then we start
Because,
flowing.
your relationship has to be based on mutual respect and mutual
Right.
understanding. 'Cause
Yes.
if you're in a relationship, but you're doing things as if you're not in a relationship, then you probably
Mhm.
don't need to be. And some ground rules and some expectations needs to be put in place.
You know, one thing I don't like when people say, I'm going to please my woman or my man, because I don't want us to start having this, to start arguing over something so simple. Because there's wives out there that, like, all they want is to argue. They just want it their way. But there's a lot of guys who's like, well, you know what? I'll just let her have it. I'm not gonna say anything because I know my woman, I know my man. If I say something, they're going to disagree, and I'm just going to be okay with it.
Well, let me speak for the men. Sometimes, listen, we have X amount of energy, which means we have to be very specific as to what we spend that energy on. Which means there's little things it's not worth getting into an argument over.
Mm-hmm.
And we can make a decision as to whether or not this makes sense to go down that road. Imagine you've worked all day and you're coming home and you find a minor thing. Maybe something is out of place. Am I going to argue over that? No. If you start, I'll just pick it up and move it myself and get it to where it needs to be, not good to go. Because there are things, all it does is create friction that does not need to be. And I think every couple's in any relationship needs to be able to pick the battles that make sense.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it could be something very minor.
Yes.
And yes, one of the partners may be like pissed over it. But when I looked at it, really, you're right. And I'm good to go because I'm not going to spend the energy.
Right. Right.
Because all that's going to do is going to get me upset. It's going to get you more upset because if it's already something that I don't think that you need to get upset over,
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna start dismissing you on your upsetness, which will piss you off more because I'm not gonna take you seriously.
Yeah.
Is it worth it?
I remember.
No.
While you were talking, I remember when I used to work for corporate years ago, a couple years ago. Like when you're home with the girls on Wednesday and I'm at work because he used to be you used to take that Wednesday off, and then just so we have time with the kids, right? Um, like when you FaceTime me and I'm at work, and then you're like, babe, this is what we're doing. I'm like, really? And I would come home, and baby, you still haven't washed the dishes? I left the house with 5 plates in the sink, and there's still 5 plates here. On top of that, there's like messy stuff. And I would get really upset. And then he's like, babe, listen, you need to stop doing this.
Yeah.
And we sat down and have a really good conversation about this. What's important? Me spending time with the girls, or me going in the kitchen wash the dishes? Because I'm one of those people. I like the house clean. I'm always like finding things. Okay, this is not supposed to be here. My husband's like, listen, why worry about something there's no need for you to worry about?
If I take a day off to hang out with the kids to watch them, there's some house chores that are not on my list.
Yeah.
It's just that.
Yeah.
Now, if you come home and you talk about it, I'm gonna say, you know what? Hold on. I go and I do them, and I'm done.
Yes.
There are things that
Yes.
it's not worth the energy. Now, I'm not saying that you should use that tactics to avoid arguments. No. There are things
Mhm.
that I don't care how tired you are, your spouse or your partner comes up with that, you need to put your foot down and say, you know what? I disagree, and this is why.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm going to hold on until.
Yeah. I mean,
and it's important, but there's little things that it doesn't make sense, because you'll find, because I guarantee you, if you look around your house, you will always find something that can cause an argument.
yeah,
Always.
the kids.
Like earlier, I didn't shut the blinds. I heard her saying that he knows that I like these things that way. He just didn't do them. I heard her. I could have come around and says, woman, didn't you see me doing something else?
You just
I heard her saying it. And sometimes this does happen. I can hear her doing things.
We argue in the morning over the same thing. Like I don't want to say every morning. We argue in the morning. In the morning, I like the blinds to be open, right? It's sunlight. It's daylight. Why not open the blinds? And at night, close the blinds. And he just don't like it. He hates it.
It's not. He's
like, why are we doing it? What's the reason behind this?
When I wake up in the morning, opening the shades, the blinds, the curtain is not on my list.
But you know that you wake up before we do. Why not?
Whether I opened it or you open it, it makes no big difference.
Yes, it does.
It's just some blinds you open. Yes, when I remember, they don't get open. If she wakes up, she start talking about it, I just open them in and I carry on with whatever I needed to do.
Every morning, it's the same thing. I had to do the same thing this morning.
I don't give her reasons. Say if I'm here and she wakes up and the curtains are not open, and she's just saying, why are they not open? I just open them and I keep moving on with my next stuff. Or if at night she's like, why are the blinds are not closed? You see them, close them. But I'm not going to say this because that will get her to come back and say, really? Now you're going to... No. You said they're not closed? I just go and close them and then I move on. Blinds and curtains? It's not worth having an argument over.
It is when you know that this is how it is. This is the routine. We turn them off. We open them in the morning. And why not close them and open?
See, those are the things when I said that pick the subject or the issues that's worth arguing over. Blinds, curtains, nah. I'd rather leave my energy for something more important.
Listen, I know one thing for sure. Heated argument, yes.
Heated arguments has its rewards.
It sure does.
It does, you get upset, you're pissed, and you go at it and you bark and you do, and then you get together later and you kind of make up for it. And everybody's good.
And that's called intimacy.
Yeah. But one thing that's important in any argument, you got to come to a conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
Either I'm going to say, okay, you're good. Or either you take because we initially argued over the blind. So I said, you know what? My thing on this, if you get up, you start saying, I'll just do them and then be gone. Watch
tomorrow morning. He's not going to do them. He's not going to do them. And I'll probably going to argue with him again.
No, I don't argue. You're just going to talk. And then I just do them, and then I move on.
But you won't be home. You'll be at work.
Yes, that's the thing. I just you start talking. I just open them and then I carry on to whatever task that I was working on. But what I'm saying is, when you find yourself arguing over a subject, reach a conclusion, whatever it may be. You're right. Okay, I can't support my point, so we do what you say, or we carry on with whatever suggestions you made. Come to an
Mhm.
agreement, because you don't want to keep arguing over the same thing. What's the point?
Mm-mm.
If you've argued, you try to make your points and it just doesn't make sense, then give up. Do it
Yes.
the other way. So come to an agreement, because this way you can know that, okay, this is something that we already know how we want to do it going forward.
Mhm.
We don't have to argue about it anymore.
Yes, and I think for every relationship, there must be like of a mutual respect, right, as well as concern
Yes.
for the other partner.
Well, yes.
Mutual respect is so
Yeah, they have,
important.
and then that's where you'll find that if you respect your partner, I don't
Mhm.
care how heated that argument gets.
Yes.
There are certain things you would not say, and there are certain things you wouldn't do.
Don't talk about my mama.
Listen, if your
Don't.
mom caused the argument, I'm going to speak about your mom.
Well, you're not gonna call my mom out of name. Like this is something that a lot of people do.
Listen,
Your mama's this, your
If-
mama's that. No.
if whatever the subject of the argument is, or the issue of the argument is, if it involves someone, that person's name will come up. And if they did something that weren't being called something, it may happen. But don't let it be what, out of the blue, you just make it something that it's not.
Yes.
So when the respect is there, there's certain thing you wouldn't say, there's certain thing you wouldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're concerned about the other person's well-being, you'll be more open to understand where they're coming from.
Right.
Because sometimes in arguments, we are so focused on getting our points across and supporting our points, we
And being
fail
right.
to hear the other person.
Yes. Yes. Especially like some people. They want to be right all the time.
Good thing I'm not someone who wants to be right all the time. Of course, if I'm arguing, if I believe in something, I will try to support it. However,
Mm-hmm.
if someone has a better idea, I'm willing to look at your way. Yes, it's not the easiest thing to do, and there's still things that sometimes I'm kind of like, but I'm a lot better than I used to be in terms of being
You
open
are.
to
You are.
understanding someone else's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't know, I don't know it all.
And a lot of times your ego gets in the way of, you know what?
Ego is another thing.
I'm right. I'm right. I'm right. I'm
And
right.
women sometimes has the biggest ego.
That's not true. That's not true. That is so not true. Men, they do. They just want to be right. I'm the man of the house. I say what I said. What I say goes. But then they fail to listen to the other partner, like to their spouse. Listen, let's just talk about it. Now, there's no you right, I'm wrong. If I'm right, then okay. Then a lot of time too, they so afraid of saying, okay, babe, you're right. They're afraid of using that word because of their ego won't let them say it. Like, it's okay. You're okay to separate. To cause of blind.
I said that sometimes. But there are some people that likes to be right.
There are, yeah, true. That's not true. That is so not true. No. But a lot of time my husband he knows that I'm right. But sometimes his ego's like, no, she's not right. Okay.
Yeah, that I can say that.
A
There's
lot of
been a
time.
few cases
There's
that
been a lot of
that we've talked about something, and yes, I was really like on my side.
yeah, on your
And then
manhood.
afterwards I
Mm.
thought about it.
Mm.
And sometimes it's things that she said, why don't you do it this way? Now I went and actually did it, and I realized that it worked.
See?
Now I've always found enough strength in me to say, you know what, you were right. Well, it started out, right. And then
I can't remember the last.
But yes, and this is where we have to be comfortable in
Yeah.
ourselves to be able to recognize when our partner is right,
Yeah.
and let them know that they're right.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, none of us know it all. I know I don't.
We're not perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So arguments can be beneficial to us. In fact, many couples are better with each other,
I think we get closer.
happier with each other.
I think we are.
Yes.
I get to know you more. I get to know what pissed you off, what tick you off. I get to know you more. I really, yes. When we argue and I'm like, okay, he doesn't like this. Let me not say it. He doesn't like if I do this way.
Well, yes, we learn each other's good side, bad side,
Yeah.
preferences, point of views,
Hmm. Makes me love you
perspectives.
more.
Well, yes, and this is where if you love someone, when you say you love someone, you'll be willing to have an argument with them
Mm,
just so you can hear their points.
yes.
Yes, you'll get upset, but you're not upset at this person as a person. You're upset
Right.
at the circumstance you find yourself into.
Yeah.
Because it's what allows you to make up at the end. You still love this person. You still want to do the things you committed to do with them. It's just that they had a view that you disagreed on.
That's opposite
And
of
that
what you
allows you
said.
to understand where they stand on certain
Right.
things
Right.
and allows you to live better with each other.
Yes. Yes. And
Yeah.
and a lot of time when you argue with someone, you see that, man, my woman is smart. She like knew the right words to say, not like call me out, call me names, or go back to what happened 5 years ago. But we argue on a
You keep it on subject.
on a professional level.
Well, you can argue on a professional level. Yes.
We
You argue with no name calling.
Yeah.
But you're focusing on the issue at hand. Actually, I have not called you names.
We have not called
You
each
big
other
head.
names. That's you. That's like your sister stuff. That's not a yeah. I feel like your sister started this. So it's your sister, you, and now I heard your brother say it the other day too.
Big head.
To Jeannie. And I was like, is this a brother and sister thing? Because I think
Well,
it's
we
just
have
weird.
big heads because we have big brains, and we have big brains.
No, that's
because-
not true.
Okay. I'm using someone's word. I
Yeah,
take this
and
back.
it's not true.
But yes, I mean, arguments or arguings over things allows you to understand the other person better, and your relationships needs to be able to survive arguments. Because
Mm-hmm.
if your relationship cannot survive arguments,
Yeah.
then you have bigger issues.
Yeah.
You probably don't need to be together. It's kind of that.
Period.
I mean, sorry to say, but it's true. If you say you love someone and you can't stand to be and to disagree with this person,
Mhm.
then you probably don't need to be.
Yeah.
Because
It's so true.
I think when you're with someone, you need to be able to open up completely,
Mhm.
share your thoughts, share your disagreement,
Share how you feel about
share how you
things.
feel about things.
Yeah.
And if this person's love you enough, they'll listen, they'll share
Mhm.
their thoughts,
Yeah.
how they feel,
Yeah.
and together you'll come to some kind of mutual agreement as to how do we go forward dealing
Mhm.
with the issue at hand.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about this, and I can't stop thinking about my parents. That's how they are. My mom is very strong on her opinion.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
My mother, I love her so much. She's very strong, and when she stands on something, whether if it's right or wrong, whether if it's wrong.
But here's the thing with your mother. She will go in and you'll sit there, you'll listen. She goes and she goes.
Yeah,
And
she's
then
listening to the
after-
podcast, right?
And after you hear, you don't go over her. You let her go and say everything. And then you go in and you insert your part. And you help her say, okay, this is what you just said. And many times she's open to at least consider, but not always. Sometimes she's like,
No,
no.
this is black and white. I'm gonna see a black, you see a white, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think that's exactly how they are. Her and my dad, they really they argue about things, and then they just, and I can see us being like them. Yes,
Who knows? As we get older,
Yes.
we tend to pick up some traits from the people we are
Oh
around.
yes, I actually see myself like my mother right here.
No, I see myself being unique.
I see myself like my mom. Bottom point, there's no wrong to that though.
Oh, I'm not saying this wrong.
My mother's a role model.
It's just I wish to be different.
I wish to be different too, but there's a lot of things that I really feel like things that I've said or things the way that I act on certain things, I feel like, oh man, my mom would have done this exactly the same way. So yeah, I feel like there's a lot of things that I do are becoming like her. And
Yeah.
which is a good thing.
And obviously, being
And I'm the only daughter.
witnessing your parents going through arguments and their makeup, it's a good thing to see is that
Mhm.
it helps you realize that relationship, long or short,
Yes.
there will be arguments.
Yes. 40
But the
years
arguments
together.
does not have to be the end
right.
of that relationship.
Right.
Now, if it's an argument that's over some craziness, and yes, something that, because there are sometimes there are things that happen in a relationship, you just have to end it.
Yeah.
Sorry to say, but there are things that does happen. It can always get worked out.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to see your parents go through things where they can find common grounds to still be able to love each other, to still be able to carry on.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things that helps those of us who are coming up to understand that this whole life together is not going to be a walk in the park.
It's not a fairy tale.
It's not a fairy tale like the stories say.
They lie.
Story lie.
They lie.
But yes, it's not a fairy tale. Now, it can be, but that doesn't mean it won't have bumps in there.
Well, I feel like they just left the argument parts in those fairy tale movies. They just show you the good, the lovey-dovey part of it. But yeah, I mean, arguments is gonna happen. It's just gonna happen. Bottom line is, you're in a relationship, you're gonna be, especially if you have a strong woman who stands on their opinion, on their things, on their views, right, babe?
Mm-hmm.
So, but is it healthy or unhealthy?
I mean, it is healthy. I think couple has to argue. Otherwise, one is lying to the other.
Not all the time, though.
Not all the time.
Not every
If
day.
argument
Not
is
every
what
day.
your relationship is based on, like you find every little thing to argue, one of you is gonna get tired of arguing and say, "Forget it, I'm out."
Yeah.
Because it's exhausting to argue. However,
Well, then if you're married to the person, you're gonna have to fight for it.
well, you would have found out
Or
before
see
you
a
get married.
counselor.
Listen, if someone arguing is like in their blood, if you dated this person long enough, you would realize that, because you would have had several arguments. Say, if I'm dating a girl and I'm arguing all the time, I'm probably not going to think about marrying you. What? I wanna live a life of arguments? No.
But
That.
what if her beauty blinds you from all these arguments? You know what? She's pretty, but I
If
can't
I am
deal with the
crazy
argument.
over her and I can look beyond the argument,
Yeah.
then that's a commitment that I'm making to say, regardless of how much we argue, I'm going to. But if the relationship is based on beauty, remember, as we get older, our beauty diminish. So what happened? Am I gonna leave? Because believe as we get older, we argue more over things because we become wiser and we become more opinionated about
petty.
things. Sometimes they become petty. so the arguing increase. So yes. If you're so pretty, then I was looking, maybe I'll just look beyond the arguing and date you, but not marrying you. And it wouldn't make sense. It's healthy. Mm-hmm. It helps you understand each other. It helps you grow with each other.
Yes.
And the more you understand each other, the more you'll find ways to love each other, and the less you'll get on each other's nerve. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Yeah.
Listen, I know Sis's got issues. She knows I got issues.
You got issues.
I know how she feels about the blinds. Just don't think about them in the morning.
You know how I feel about my coffee.
I know how you feel about the coffee, but you know what? If we had a coffee in the morning, I'm not going to get in the car and quickly go rush and get coffee. You're just going to wake up and there's no coffee, and I'll get some later. It's not an emergency. And she knows that. Coffee is not an emergency.
It is an emergency.
For you, but not for me. So don't expect me to jump in the car and run out and go get coffee before I go to work. It's not going to happen. On that note, we thank you everybody for listening to our podcast on Should We Argue? I think we spent the whole thing arguing.
I think we kind of did. See, we're not perfect, guys. We argue.
We are not.
We're not perfect.
I mean, we have fun with each other.
Listen, Abraham and Sarah argue a lot, right?
We have fun with each other. So
we do.
I'm hoping we've shared enough with you as to how we kind of do things.
I'm still upset though.
She's still upset about the coffee, and I do not care. So thank you for listening, everybody. We appreciate you joining us today, and I'm hoping that you enjoy this podcast. If you the first time with us, please remember to subscribe
and like the video.
We appreciate
Share with
that.
Your friends and family.
Share with your friends and family. Click on the notification bell.
Yes.
So you can be notified when we put these videos out.
Yes, because I'm looking to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year.
She's looking towards that.
I'm working.
Please share the videos with anyone you know. And remember, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, And so if you don't get a chance to watch us, you can at least listen to us go over our
We
shenanigans.
want you to watch us so we can get the views,
She wants
okay?
you to
I
watch
want you
her.
to see me, okay? Come see me, not him.
So everybody, thank you very much. We appreciate you, and we will see you next Saturday.
Bye.
Peace.